Good morning and welcome to my garden. Yes, I'm Roy Fox, and I've been growing chrysanthemums for some 55 years now. In this particular garden, since I've lived here, which is 33 years now, I suppose you could say I've been growing for 32 years here. And we have approximately 40 varieties of chrysanthemums, from medium, large exhibition varieties down to the spray varieties. I have 40 varieties and about 275 plants. There are 8 beds of plants representing about 35 plants per bed. They're 20 feet long by 42 inches wide. It's comfortable with a 2-foot path between each row.
Hi, I'm Ann Polera, and I'm Roy's daughter. And we've kind of conspired together at times. He's been trying to teach me how to grow as well as him for decades. I haven't reached that point yet, but we'll get there soon.
These, Ann, are a Deamer spray, and they're very prolific, as you can see. That's one plant, and they're grown like diagonally in order to get more sun between the rows. And of course we're facing south, as you well know, and that's a help, because the rows are open during the growing season, which is before all the flowers come out, of course, and the sun helps the plant to grow well. As you see, the foliage right down to the ground is quite excellent here.
How about this one? Yeah.
I noticed the pollinators love these open centers.
Oh yeah, so well, it's a surprise at this time of the year, because the temperatures dropped and bees don't like cool. They usually are getting back to their hives for the winter, but nevertheless, if you got a sunny place, we've got covers, of course, and that retains the heat. Like, there's not likely to get any frost under here for a while. So we'll go on, and I want to explain the best way of showing these. Like in this case, we have there's 4 breaks on this plant, but that can be cut off down below here. Usually we need at least 3 stems of sprays for show work, and the requirements are a minimum of 5 blooms. Oh, that came off.
Well, you've got at least
but you
5
get away.
there. Yep.
You get away with that, and 3 of those in a vase are quite attractive. I think it's gold Sheba, and there's a family of Shebas, and whether it's the name of a street where the hybridizer lived or what, but there's salmon, there's the gold, the salmon, and yellow, which I'm not so sure I have the yellow one here. This is Scarlet Olivia. It's the only plant I have, and it's a bit of a story to it. When I got back from Vancouver this year, the weeds were about, well, in certain cases they were way above the height of the plants. And for some reason I was going around pulling weeds out, and I went and pulled the plant out of the ground. Oh, the only one I have. So I I immediately replanted it in the hole I pulled it out of, and it came along great. So this one will be really looked after in order to propagate more stock for, as I like to grow at least a minimum of six of a particular plant, 6 plants of a particular cultivar. And if I'm only growing 3 of one, it's because I just want to keep the stock. It's not to use for show work. And this is matlock. It's a beautiful red. And this year, I can't say I've ever had color like this on this plant, in spite of all the sun, etc., etc. Mind you, the later they come, the darker they will be, because the sun we have is low in the sky now, so it comes up and it gets down before it can do a lot of damage on the fading process. But here you have it. You got to grow it. This one, Anne, is almost what we call over the top, and it's a huge bloom. But as you can see, the sun has bleached it, and
Still looks quite attractive.
oh yeah, if you had 3 or 4 more of these, 4 more to make a vase of 5 up. We usually have either single vase, a 3 vase, or a 5 vase. When we talk about over the top, it means that it's coming to a point where you see the center. This is not quite there, but these petals will come out and leave the center of the flower, which is considered over the top. It will never get anywhere in the show. Of course, and the shows are over now, but we've still got this particular cultivar is Peter Roll. It's an incurve, medium incurve, but it's grown only 2 up, and it came out larger, of course, than I normally grow it, because I've always played around with 3 up. Why, I don't know, because I'd been told before you shouldn't do it that way. But anyway, this year I tried the 2 up, and there are, being that the show was 2 weeks ago, and we tried to time everything for the show, and of course you see what we have here. We're way out of the shows, and they're really super blooms. The aftermath of the show is, we could probably pick maybe 8 or 9 blooms here that we could put in the show. There's that'll probably catch the frost, unless I put some covering over it. I could put a bag over that.
Here's another beautiful incurve. It's Bronze Max Riley, and it's an excellent early bloomer. So if you do tend to get frost at the end of September, you can time these so that you can enjoy them throughout September.
Well, and this is a tricky one, because I always found it came too early. Maybe we get it into the X, which is around the 1st of September. But what happened this year was that I put the plants in, went out west on the last day of May, and came back 10 days later, and the weeds were a foot high. I could hardly see the plants, and they hadn't been stopped. So I stopped them all. And if you look carefully, closely, you'll see that the stop the stop break was here. Like these are two up. They're all two up, but the break was probably 6 inches lower. Of course, the plant has grown since, and I was hoping that maybe by the time it blooms, we'll have some for the show, which we did. We had a vase of 5 of these in the show, and they were great. But and they're very, very strong plants too. When you consider the size of the bloom, which isn't very big, it's actually classified as a C. We have the A, which is a large, the B, which is a medium, C. They make a new classification a few years ago for the ones that couldn't make it into the Bs. But nevertheless, I still grow these as early medium. So the judge can do what he likes. If he says it's in the wrong class, then he can demote it. He can push it to another class. So that's all I find with this one is it needs a little later stop. Well, Laurie, this is a sport. We'll talk about what a sport is shortly, and it was from a white raspberry ripple, which is this one here, and it was one branch coming out off the side, and it was a pink flower. So I propagated from that stem, and this is a result after 3 years actually. I'm waiting to see how good these 3 here are, if it turns out like this. Next year I will grow maybe 9 plants and see if it carries the color through. If it carries the color through, then we can call it Pink Anne, after my daughter.
Now these are still in the bud stage, so how could I manipulate that so that it would bloom 2 weeks earlier so I can get it in a show?
Well, unfortunately, these were stopped too late. In other words, we pinched the plant, the head of the plant out when it was young, too late. It was probably stopped around the 1st of May. Should have been around the 1st of April. Okay. That would have brought on the flowering time earlier. It doesn't always work. These are considered an October flowering plant, so they have to be manipulated a bit. If you can get a flower show around the end of September, you could probably, even if it's not fully out, it'd probably be reasonable to put in a late September show. But it's hard to say at the beginning of the year when's the show date, unless a show chairman has already established that. As of last year, we had a silly date right in the middle of September, which is not good for chrysanthemums, because their best colors are at the end of September. And not only that, we usually time all our stuff for the late September show in order to get as much stuff in the show as possible.
So you would have to know your show date long before April.
Oh, you need that, or you're going to take a chance and say, well, it's going to be the 3rd week of September, or the last week, or even the middle of September. You could stop so many plants 1 week and then move to the next week and stop.
Oh, okay.
That would give you coverage to a certain degree. But I've said before that you can stop all a particular cultivar on the same day, and you might find that half of the plants bloom either earlier or later than the ones that you've anticipated would be for the show.
Oh, okay.
So
What variety is this, guys?
this variety is Jimmy Simpson. There's several of them here, and I had another variety of bronze. It was
Clarksdale? Or-
a piece, young piece.
Danny Peace.
Danny Peace.
Is that the one
And
back
I
here?
haven't been able to find them on my list. I know I put some in, so it's a question of
Could
weight.
they be these
Oh,
browns?
no.
No?
I know
Okay.
that,
So what's the name of this one, Dad?
so. Rose Venice. It was named after the Olympics in Venice, Italy. The chap that hybridized this, he hybridized for every Olympics, even the Olympics in Montreal. We had a yellow one called Montreal.
Wow.
There's also where we had the Meinhof gang came, or where was that, Munich? We
Yes.
have a Munich.
Yeah.
So these are almost perfect. They could be bigger, but it is a medium. So a vase of these, I tell you, they'd be tremendous. Unfortunately, they're late. It's a bit of an October flowering.
Oh, okay.
Of course, we got a couple of Sam Oldham's here, which got in the pile somehow, mixed up. There's another one there, and here's another one here.
Well, the Sams look great. I'm used to needing a ladder for those to look at them, though. They're a bit shorter this year. Did you do
That's
something?
all right. Even in the old country, they said, "Oh, you need a ladder for Sam Oldham to see what the top's like." But hey, they're beautiful.
Yeah, that's
A medium. It used to be a large. It used to win the national in London for about 3 or 4 years going in the 79, 80, 81. Well, Anne, this is called Allison peas. I've been growing it for 8, 10 years maybe, and I've never had it like this before. These weren't bagged. There was a couple I bagged, but mostly with bloom bags. Then I take them off, because these are reflexes and they have to come out in the opposite direction to a decorative. And they just came out super, but unfortunately they're late. And it's another October flowering. It needs to be probably stopped 1st of April, or maybe earlier.
Okay.
But timing is something that needs to be looked at every year. You need to take the information, write it down, in order to get the blooms in the right shape and form for a particular show. Well, Laurie, this is Doreen Hall. It's one of the larger intermediate blooms. An intermediate bloom is a bloom that the petals carry in towards the center. The reflexes, as we've been noted on the Allison piece, all the petals have gone the other way, showing the inside of the petal. Over here we have Billy Bell. They're a bit on the small side, but they are an intermediate as well. There's a bigger one, but they got to be bigger than that.